How are you, Mark? How's everybody?
Hey, Coach. Doing well, thank you. Please
Mark,
go ahead and begin. Yeah, go ahead and begin when you're ready, sir.
get started with a few thoughts here. Um, Looking back, as we told the players, we weren't um, ready to be the number 5 team in the country week after week because we didn't play well enough to do that, and they're aware of that, and they know that. They also know that we were tough enough and competitive enough and good enough to come from behind in a game last week, but we didn't finish it, and that was an issue last year. So we got to finish those games to get where we want to go with our program. Um, I've thought about um, the issues of tackling, and you all ask. A lot of times, tackling depends on who you're trying to tackle, and we've missed 54 tackles this year, 13 per game. Our opponents have missed 66. They've missed 16.5 per game. So the last 2 weeks, um, last week we broke 20 tackles, so that means Virginia Tech missed 20, and we missed 21. Well, a lot of credit goes to Herbert and Hooker. Those guys are really hard to tackle. So, in a lot of times when you talk about tackling, CL asks about what's the difference in last year and this year in tackling. It's usually who you're trying to tackle. Saturday night, um, we missed 19 tackles, but Florida State missed 17. People are missing tackles on our backs, and we're missing tackles on Jordan Travis and Webb, their tailback, because they're really, really good players. So we've got to improve in those areas, but a lot of times you've got to give credit to the people you're trying to tackle too. It's and you look at it. If we've got a tackling issue, the people we're playing do too. I mean, it's and does that have anything to do with COVID and missing spring practice? Who knows? And likewise, we're breaking down Duke and State. Both of them had a punt blocked. I do think the kicking game is really been affected by COVID and not having spring practice. And those aren't excuses; they're facts because they're happening all over the country. Um, and I think that's the biggest thing. The other thing, I watched all the interviews from yesterday, and you know, the players move on very quickly after a win or after a loss, and coaches probably take a little bit longer. Fans don't have anything till the next week, so they struggle the whole week. And media, when you're asking the kids questions after a loss, they're usually negative on Tuesday. And a lot of times, even after a win, you're going to take out the negative things because that's what your readers ask about, and they're more interested in negatives than they are positives. And that's the nature of the business. That's what happens. So I'm going to ask Jeremy if to talk to the kids and see if they'd rather talk to you all on Sunday night. Because by Tuesday they're already headed to the next game, and I thought y'all were asking about Florida State, and you're asking about this, and what about the protection, and what about the turnovers, and what about the missed tackling, and I thought these guys are so far ahead, moving toward NC State, that they're saying, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that in 2 days. I moved on, so we'll talk to them and see just whether that's better or not. NC State won 3 in a row, got a lot of confidence. Obviously, we're coming in after a loss. Got to pick ourselves back up. We've had good practices. These are great young people. They work really hard. They've got a lot of pride. They want to win. We know we have a lot of deficiencies still. We've got a long way to go, but they're trying their best to get there. NC State's well coached. They're playing really hard, and it should be a great game. Mark?
All right, sir. Thank you. All right, group, if you have a question for Coach Brown, please use the raise hand function. Our first question today will come from Dina King. Go ahead, Dina.
Hey, Coach, with both teams being ranked in the polls, how big of a game for the state of North Carolina in all aspects?
Uh, Dana, I think it's great. It's I didn't realize how few times both teams have been ranked. But as I said on Monday, I think it's such a credit to the high school coaches and high school football in the state when this game is important, and both teams are ranked, because a lot of the players from this state go to these two schools, and So I think it's really, really good for the Triangle. It's good for the state of North Carolina, and especially good for high school football.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move over to Alyssa Ray.
Hey, Coach, how do you think the players have responded to that loss? I know sometimes it fires some guys up, and when we spoke to them yesterday, as you mentioned, they were already on to NC State, but how did they respond in practice?
Alyssa, they've been really amazing. They've responded so well. They're hard on themselves. We show them why we win a game, and we show them even the bad things that happen when you win a game. We show them when you lose a game why we lost it, and then they take ownership into things that they didn't do well, and that's a true credit to them at their age, especially. And really, most ball games that are decently close, there's 8 to 10 plays that make a difference in the game, and so you play well for most of the game. We had 81 plays on offense. Let's say that 70 of them were good. And nobody talks about the good plays when you lose. They talk about the 8 to 10 bad ones, and that's just what the guys have to get used to. So they continue to learn what's the difference in winning and losing, and what you've got to do, and then they have to put it behind them and move forward. And like I said, they've got school, they've got their families, they've got girlfriends, they've got all the things going on in their life, so they move on much faster than coaches, media, or fans.
And to see what they did defensively in the second half against Florida State, I mean, what do you expect out of that side of the ball come Saturday?
Well, we're getting better. We're still thin. We've had some people banged up, and we're still not playing enough people. So, at some point here, last year we got better on defense when we started trusting a lot of the young ones and started playing them. We were more fresh in the fourth quarter and third quarter, and we've got to do that. I mean, our guys, our coaches are trying to win so badly that they don't want to put somebody in. They don't think he's ready. Well, we got to. We're at a stage in our program where we need to play the great young athletes that we're recruiting, and just put them out there and let them go, and have them grow up. And at some point, it'll work for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, CL Brown, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, kind of expanding on what you just said, are there any names in particular you want to throw out there in terms of guys you feel like might see some more time on Saturday, young guys that might see some more time?
No, because you're at midweek, CL. That's one of the tough things about Wednesday. One of them may not practice well tomorrow. One of them may get a sprained ankle. There's a lot of things that can still happen with 3 or 4 days left to game time. So you'll get to see them on Saturday.
All right. And what kind of are your keys? What are the signs you're looking for when you talk about games are won on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you can kind of get a tell for the temperament of the team? What specifically do you look for to say, okay, these guys are ready to play, or I don't know, this we might need a special spark or something?
Usually, if you have energy and you're physical and you're doing all the obvious things right, you've got low pads, you're guys are throwing and catching the ball, and they're not dropping it. They're not missing assignments. We have officials out here every day. They're limiting penalties. You can tell those things, and it just is really obvious. And I still can't. I told them today again that football's simple. It's a very simple game. People are very complicated. Me, coaches, staff members, players. And trying to get all these complicated people to be on the same page every Saturday is not as easy as you would think it is. And the ones that handle COVID, the ones that handle their emotions, the ones that are ready to play every week, they're the ones that win the most games. And I've tried to be as honest with the guys as I can and say, if you get ready to play, you're going to win more games than you lose, and you'll have a better chance to play well and play 100%. But you can't drop passes in practice and then expect to go make them in a game. You just can't. So we dropped 3 passes at the end of the game the other day. Did we drop those on Thursday? Did we drop them on Wednesday? There's no question. If you catch them during the week, you've got a better chance to catch them in the game. We haven't missed a field goal all week. We missed one last Thursday, and then we missed one in the game. So I do think that the way you practice and the confidence that you gain through the way you practice during the week does transfer to the field.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, Greg Barnes, go ahead, sir.
Hey, Mack, you've been a part of a lot of rivalries, good rivalries over your coaching career. We talk a lot about the fan aspect of it because that's really the big part. But what is the value in these types of rivalries for the coaches?
The values are that your fans like to beat their rivals. They have to go to work with them. They go to church with them. They see them at the grocery store. And you get a year to brag about it after you win. And the fans pay for our programs and they support our programs. So coaches would rather win these games because they know the fans like it. And the fans are very, very important to us. It sure doesn't. I've always felt like that the players have more respect for each other and the coaches have more respect for each other in rivals, but it's really about the fans and the emotion it brings and the trash talking back and forth and the ability to stick that chest out on Saturday afternoon, brag about your win. And that's what rival games are all about. And I've been in enough of them at different places that they're all the same. They're all the same. And everybody thinks theirs is bigger than anybody else's because it's theirs. And I got that. I get it completely. That's why rival games are fun. The weirdest thing for us is, in a weird way, State's a rival. Well, Virginia's a rival because the schools are so similar. Well, Duke's a rival. Even have a bell for that one. And then Wake's a rival. So we've got 4 weeks of this. And that's what I told the guys. It'll be really interesting to see if we can coach it as high a level as we need to, and we can have the spirit as high a level as we need to for the next 4 weeks before we get a week off. So it's like a season of rivals in itself.
Right. Do these rivalry games take on greater significance on the recruiting trail?
I've never thought so. I think guys pick where they want to go and go. And they always feel like when they come, they're going to win. And we've already got our classes for this year. We're already looking hard. All 4 of these schools that are playing for the next 4 weeks are already looking hard at the 22s that we're going to offer. So I've never felt like it. Winning does. Everybody wants to be part of a winning program. I've never thought winning a game does, because these kids are starting to choose sides really early. So they have an idea where they want to go. Dina can tell you when they're sophomores now, they're starting to look at it. Shoot, they brought me a 24 to look at the other day. I said, he's not shaving. Howdy, he has no classes yet. We have no transcript. Come on, man. Let's at least wait till he shaves and has a year of school.
Thank you, Mack.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I'm going to ask you a 2-part question here about the interior of the defensive line. 4 games in, what are you most pleased with that you've seen from that group? But at the same time, what concerns you the most that you've seen?
They're playing hard. Ray missed a game and he missed a week and a half of practice. So he probably wasn't in great condition down at Florida State. So he'll be better this week. Tamari's playing hard. Jaleel Taylor's playing hard. We still haven't gotten the other young guys in enough, and that's some of the group CL we're talking about. We'd like to play more of those defensive linemen. We'd like to play Des Evans more. We'd like to play Kamen Rucker more, just to get those guys going. So they're trying hard, but we're keeping the 2 or 3 in the game too long, and they get beat down over 4 games. And especially, we've been practicing since August 6th. I mean, it seems like we've had a year and a half of football and played 4 games. So that's just kind of where we are here. So we need to play more. The other thing is that we've lost some gap control inside and had some gashes on some runs. So we need to do a better job with our gap control moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Ross Martin. Go ahead, Ross.
Hey, Coach. I was gonna ask about recruiting, and I'm gonna kind of build on Greg's question. How is recruiting going now that you don't have official visits? You don't have visits during the season. Can you kind of give us a picture of what recruiting looks like during the season, during obviously a pandemic where it's not normal at all?
Yeah, Ross, this is crazy. I mean, Billy High and I were talking about it this morning that you can't see them. You got to have Zoom meetings. We got all these beautiful new facilities and nobody's been here. They can't see them. So we have conversations with parents on Zoom. We have conversations with the players, but it's just different. We do feel like, in fact, we have been told that after the guys sign on December 16th to 19th, I think is the 3 days of signing date, they can come for an official visit after they've signed. So that will help. We can at least get the guys in, and now we're starting school on January 19th. So we'll have from December 16th to January 19th, where the dead period will not affect the guys that have already signed their scholarships. And right now we're not planning on signing anybody for the late signing date, so that shouldn't affect us. So the biggest part, Ross, is we stay in touch with these kids 2 or 3 days a week that are committed to us. So that hadn't changed. The biggest thing is 22s. Number one, how many are they going to allow us to sign if they let all the seniors come back that want to? And what does that do to roster management 2 years from now? Because the NCAA said your guys are frozen this year in their class. So we could have 51 freshmen next year. And then what does that do to skew your numbers in your signing classes down the road? So that's a real concern. And I hope the NCAA will look closely at that and try to give us some leeway over the next 3 years to get those numbers back, because you could really affect the 22 class, where if nobody leaves next year and everybody has an extra year and they want to stay, you could be signing 10 or less in that class, and that's really unfair to the 22 class. So I think the biggest thing for recruiting right now, some are playing in Tennessee, some are playing in Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina is not playing for our footprint. So we have to start looking at those guys that'll play in February. And then we don't know whether that's been a dead period in February. So if North Carolina high schools start playing on February 22nd, right now we can't go because that's a dead period. So we'd love to be able to go see those guys play, but at least we'll have some video. And now we've got the camps that they're in and trying to get a glimpse of them on Twitter or something. It's really a strange time for that. You're still doing all you're getting as much information as you can from the high school coaches and the parents and the young people. You're still got your height, weights, and speeds in the camps, but you're just not going to have video till much later than we have in the past. And again, how will it affect our camps? We actually set a date for spring practice yesterday. And what's going to happen with the pandemic? Are we going to have a vaccine? Will they allow camps? Will they allow spring official visits with the 22s in the spring? Will they allow us to go watch those guys play in the spring? So there's still so many unanswered questions that's put us in a tough spot right now.
Great. Yeah. I mean, you answered my follow-up about evaluations and things. So I guess you just kind of push off evaluations until you have new tape and new film in the spring and try to see what you can see. I appreciate it.
Ross. Yeah, you try to get as much information as you can now, but you'd love to see them play in person. And the other part of that is if not, you've got to have video, and people are just going to have to be more patient. But the other part of this that's really troublesome is, when are they going to tell us if we get any relief on numbers? And if not, how many do you have? So it's hard. We're all offering 22 scholarships, but if you've offered 50 and you've got 10 to give, somebody needs to help us with what's next here for these numbers issues, because roster management is it's a real nightmare right now with everybody getting to stay and not count a year. That's just something none of us have ever dealt with before. So we're all trying to deal with it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross.
All right, Jonah, Osa, go ahead, Jonah.
Yeah, Coach. NC State's always a tough team, but game planning this week, have there been any individuals or any units on their roster that have impressed you most on film?
Of theirs?
Yes.
Yes, Jonah. Those guys play hard on defense. My gosh, they're playing hard. They'll play hard and they'll hit you. So I've been impressed. Their secondary is those safeties will chase you down and light you up. But those two linebackers I mentioned on Monday are very good players. The front's good. McNeil's just hard to block. He's a double gapper in there. He can take a guy and throw him out of the way and throw him around. So Brian Anderson's got his hands full, and they battled last year, so he understands that. Offensive line is playing much better than last year. 3 of the guys are back, and the 2 backs are like ours. They're really good, and I've been impressed that they're tight end 6'7", but those receivers are tall, and it's an interesting game now that we play. We talk about 50-50 balls. The teams that are winning are getting 80% of the either completions or defensive backs batting them down. So I think a big part of Saturday's game is going to be who can win the jump ball outside with their tall receivers.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Jonah.
All right, Coach, I think that was our last one for today. We appreciate your time.
Hey, Mark, I've got one